Hi guys, it's Miss Trish again. I'm going to read to you today Iggy Peck, Architect. So while I'm reading this, I want you guys to think of what you think an architect is. It's by Andrea Beatty. So she's the author. So that means she wrote all the words. And it was illustrated by David Roberts. So he's the one who drew all the pictures. So let's get started. So Iggy Peck, Architect. And actually over here, if you look really close at the pictures, it has some great tools that you will use in math later on, but they're also tools that an architect will use. Iggy Peck is an architect. He has been since he was 2. He built a great towel in only an hour with nothing but diapers and glue. Good gracious, Ignatius, his mother exclaimed. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. But her smile faded as fast as light as a light wind blew past, and she realized his diapers weren't clean. Ignatius, my son, what on earth have you done? That's disgusting and nasty. It stinks. Look at his lovely tower. But Iggy was gone. He was out on the lawn using dirt clods to build a great sphinx. And the sphinx is actually a wonderful sculpture you'll find in Egypt. It's huge. When Iggy was 3, his parents could see his unusual passion would stay. He built churches and chapels from peaches and apples, and temples from modeling clay. See the churches, and here's the temple back here. At dinner one night, to his father's delight, Iggy got a bright gleam in his eye, and out on the porch built the St. Louis Arch from pancakes and coconut pie. So hopefully you're all still thinking of what an architect might be. Dear Ig had it made until 2nd grade, when his teacher was Miss Lila Greer. On the very first day, she had this to say: "We do not talk of buildings in here. Gothic or Romanesque, I could care less about buildings, ancient or new." She said in her lecture about architecture, and that it had no place in grade 2. Now, I also want you guys to look closely, because someone in the book was in the other book I read. If you can find her. That might seem severe, but she was sincere, for when she was no more than 7, she had a great fright at a dizzying height in a building so tall it scraped heaven. On an architect's tour of the 95th floor, young Lila got lost from the group. She was found 2 days later stuck in an elevator, eating cheese with a French circus troupe. After that day, it's quite safe to say, she thought all building lovers were nuts. As a teacher, she taught that, above all, one ought to avoid them. No ifs, ands, or buts. And you see, there she is in that elevator. As you might guess, it would cause Iggy some stress to hear such a terrible talk. But he didn't hear. He sat in the rear, while building a castle of chalk. "You, Iggy Peck, your desk is a wreck. Tear down that castle right now. You will not build in here. Is that perfectly clear? Do you need to see Principal Howe?" And take a good look at the castle that he built. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You see that little castle right there? No, ma'am, Iggy said. He lowered his head. His heart sank down to the floor. With no chance to build, his interest was killed. Now second grade was a bore. After 12 long days that passed in a haze of reading, writing, and arithmetic, Miss Greer took the class to Blue River Pass for a hike and an old-fashioned picnic. They crossed an old trestle to a small island nestle in the heart of a burbling stream, but they no sooner passed than the footbridge collapsed and Miss Lila Greer started to scream. "We're trapped here, oh my! Alas, kids, goodbye!" Her eyeballs rolled back in her head. She dropped to the ground with a vague groaning sound. Luckily, fainted, not dead. So a trestle is a type of bridge. Just so you know, that's what they were crossing. The bridge fell apart. The class was amazed. They stood there quite dazed, uncertain of what they should do. But one bright young man was off hatching a plan, which started with Miss Lila's shoe. Soon each lad and lass there at Blue River Pass was working together as one. Working together as a group. See what they're building. When she came to, Miss Lila Greer knew that something quite brave had been done. She looked in the air and saw hanging there a structure with cables and braces, and on the far side, beaming with pride, were 17 smiling young faces. Boots, tree roots, and strings, fruit roll-ups, and things, some of which one should not mention, were stretched ridge to ridge in a glorious bridge, dangling from shoestring suspension. So look and see if you can find everything that they used to make their bridge. It became quite clear to Miss Lila Greer, as she crossed the bridge over the stream, there are worse things to do when you're in grade 2 than spend your time building a dream. So it looks like they built the San Francisco Bridge here, and it was opened in 1937, or some type of bridge. I don't know if it's Golden Gate or not. Now every week at Blue River Creek Elementary in second grade, all the school kids can hear, along with Miss Greer, how the world's greatest buildings were made. The weekly guest speaker in t-shirt and sneakers talks of buildings from Rome to Quebec. And of course, he's the guy who builds towers from pie, that brilliant young man, Iggy Peck. So as you can see, Iggy's building all different things. So he has the Leaning Tower of Pisa right here, and he's got the Opera House, the Sydney Opera House, and I think that's St. Paul's Cathedral, the Colosseum in Rome. So you can see all those. And this castle is particular because this is the castle we saw back that he was building on his desk. And that is actually a real castle. That castle, and it's really quite famous, is New Schwanstein Castle, right there. It's in Germany. And the reason it's so important is when we might recognize it as something else. Because when Walt Disney saw it, he decided to base what we now know as Cinderella's castle in Disneyland about this castle. So for all of you who love the Cinderella's castle, it's based on a real one. So I think hopefully some of you figure out what an architect was, right? An architect is a person who, for their job, it is to design and create, through drawings, buildings. So they create, if you look around Boston, you see the Prudential Building and the John Hancock Tower and all of these buildings all over the place. And they were built from architects, so they take all the measurements and how everything should be built. So that's what an architect does. So architecture is basically designing buildings. So hopefully we'll get to design some, because we're actually in the next video we're going to make some of our own using different kind of cardboards, but you can make your own while you're waiting for that using Legos, blocks, whatever your parents will let you use. Please ask before using them. I don't want to get in trouble because you glued something to a ceiling. Not my idea of a fun day. So I also, going back to what I said before, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this, but I read before, Rosie Revere, engineer. Go back to Iggy being in class. Rosie is sitting right there. She doesn't have her kerchief yet on her head, but she's right there. She's our engineer. And also, if you ever read the book Ada Twist Scientist, Ada's right there. So we have Rosie and Ada, and now we have Iggy. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hopefully you look through more things about architecture. Hopefully if your parents let you, they'll let you go online and you can see all the different types of buildings that are made and old ones that have been built that are still there in Greece and in Rome. So I hope you have fun. I'll see you later. Bye.